We got a brand new Star Wars series coming to Disney Plus, and it is set at the end of the High Republic era before the events of Star Wars Phantom Menace, and follows a Jedi investigating a series of murders within the Star Wars universe. Now, I got the opportunity to check out the first 4 episodes of this series, and I will be keeping it spoiler-free in today's video, but I'm also going to be answering the question of, is this a series and a project that's going to bring the fandom together? Will this be something that people are going to be talking about for the next 8 weeks, or is this going to be another Disney Star Wars project that just seamlessly keeps the fandom further and further apart? Well, we'll be discussing that and much more in today's spoiler-free review of Star Wars: The Acolyte. Before we get into my thoughts, let's get the conversation going in the comments below. Let me know if this is a series you all were excited to check out, but more importantly, once you've seen the first 2 episodes, which will be premiering on Disney Plus on June 4th, let's talk about those episodes, the pros, the cons, what worked, what didn't work. Do you have a favorite episode between the 2? Do you have a favorite scene, a favorite character? Were you left disappointed by the end of the 2nd episode? But more importantly, will you be watching this for the next 6 weeks? Let's talk about it all in the comments below. So for those that are new to the channel, first and foremost, welcome to the community, and for those that are coming back, I appreciate the continued support. But for those that are new and worrying, like, what is this guy? Who is this guy? Is he a real Star Wars fan? So to answer that question, I will consider myself a casual Star Wars fan. Like, I've seen all the movies, I own them all. New Hope is my favorite Star Wars movie. I've seen all the live action shows. I would say Mandalorian season 1 and 2 and Andor are my favorite of the Disney Plus shows. And I'm again, a casual fan of Star Wars. I haven't watched the animated shows. I haven't read the comics, the books, the EU stuff. Again, I just keep it casual to the live action, and I've enjoyed the Star Wars journey since I was a kid into now, and it has its highs and it has its lows, but nonetheless, I was excited for the show because I'm a fan of Leslye Headland. I've seen both seasons of Russian Doll. I've seen some of her other projects, and her talking about Star Wars, you can see the excitement. You can hear the fandom coming out of her when she's expressing what Star Wars means to her and how she wants to tell this story set in the end of the High Republic era and taking us, and this is no disrespect to the Skywalkers, but taking us out of the Skywalker era and into the past and exploring the different ideologies between the Jedi and the Sith, and all the stuff she was saying got me hyped. So I was very much anticipating the show and made my top 10 most anticipated shows of the year, and we're here to talk about the first 4 episodes. And again, I'm keeping it spoiler free. I'm just talking about things that are public knowledge, whether it be through press releases, through the trailers and whatnot. So again, spoiler free to all the stuff that, again, that is publicly out there for people to know about. So with all that being said, is it good? Is it bad? Is it great? Let's talk about these episodes. And the way I want to handle this video is the first half is just going to be my general impressions, my notes on the things that worked, the things that didn't work. And then the second half of this video, I'm going to kind of get into just some quick thoughts of the individual episodes and giving you all a preview of what you all can expect to see in episodes 3 and 4. And again, keeping it spoiler free. With that being said, getting to my general impressions. I got to say, when I heard about the show and the $180 million budget, which I think kind of maps out to be $22 million an episode. Listen, the Star Wars shows so far, at least in the television format, have looked pretty good for the most part. And I gotta say, the thing that I like about this show, actually the thing I love about this show, is that it's practical, right? And this is no disrespect to those that have been a fan of The Mandalorian and Obi-Wan, which has mostly used the volume technology to kind of put you in these universes and these worlds. And I understand that's sometimes a better way to get things out quicker and time efficiency, but I love practicality, man. And Leslye talked about like a year ago that they're not going to be using the volume. They're going to be on location. And that to me just puts me in the world more. And I just love, like, I would imagine as an actor, you know, you have to learn your lines, you have to be in character, and you have to act up against a green screen can be difficult. So I just love that the actors can feel and touch and have the tangibility of being in these worlds. And for an audience member, you can feel like you can step into those worlds. So it adds another layer of just like being engaged and locked in and compelled, because you know these actors are like on location, and these sets are beautiful, right? And that boils down to the hair, the makeup, the costume, the aliens, the different creatures we see. So I really am enjoying the productional value, and that $22 million per episode, it's seen on screen. It's not like, where did that money go? That don't don't look good. That don't look good. What did they say? I can't hear him. The ADR, like the production of the show is really well, which kind of blends and kind of transitions into my thoughts on the direction and the story. Ran and head writer of the show is Leslye Headland, who has been doing a pretty solid job from the first episodes I've seen so far. I like where she's taken the story. It's a very interesting idea of having like a murder mystery genre within the Star Wars universe, but also the idea of not having the burden of having another creator that is very creative, having their uniqueness stripped away at a sense because they have to stay within the confines of like, okay, you can't break canon, you can't really say this about Luke Skywalker, you can't do that within the, you know, the Skywalker era. So I love that we're taking it back, and it allows her to be able to, again, even though this is in the past, and obviously the past can affect the future, but I like that she gets the reins to kind of play in this era and explore, again, a murder mystery. If you want to know something about me, I love horror, I love science fiction, I love when they blend together, and not that this is a horror show, but it does kind of dive into, okay, we got Jedis that are being murdered, and the ways they're being murdered is pretty interesting when you see the show, and the idea of, and without giving too much away, of this person that is killing these Jedi characters, you know, this character by the name of May, and how she's told to do it is very interesting. So I love, again, that Leslye kind of brings the genre within the Star Wars universe. It allows us to explore different ideas. As I mentioned earlier, I love that we get to explore the ideas of a Jedi and expanding on how they're viewed. Some people don't consider them good people, how they police the galaxy and how they work for the Republic. So I love that we're kind of touching on these ideologies. I have some issues with it not really being that depth and complexity that I was looking for, but for the most part, I like the idea of what we're getting at of explaining what a Jedi is and what they mean to the galaxy. Now, switching gears and talking a little bit about the performances, and this is nothing against the supporting cast. I like most of the supporting actors in this show, and, you know, whether that be a Jackie or a Lord and those different characters that we're seeing that work within the Jedi regime and some of the other characters that we get into the mix, like, they're fine, but to me, the standouts are Amandla Stenberg and Jung-jae, who to me are completely carrying this show. Now, to be fair, their characters are given the most material and have the most in dealing with their internal and emotional type of mindset, but they're also just great actors doing a great job. Like, speaking to Amandla, who I've been a fan of since she was like a little kid acting in movies, I think she's fantastic. Now, I will warn you all, if you don't know this, because I will say the trailers haven't shown this, but this is on IMDb, this is on other websites, and I believe it's been spoken about as far as who she's playing in the show. Now, again, if you don't want to know anything about it, just a quick little spoiler I'll put on the screen now, and I'll give you the next 10 seconds to kind of zone out or put your headphones on, but she plays two characters. She plays a character by the name of May and by a name of Osha, and I won't talk about their relationship or whatnot, but she has double duty in this show, so you're fine. I'm going to just kind of go into the character elements, but she's really great in the role, in the roles, I should say. Now, I find her character to be very compelling. It is revealed pretty early on in episode 1 about the roles that she's given, but I like the both characters that she's playing here and the differences between the two characters, and the stuff that we learn makes it a pretty interesting setup for that particular characters. Now, talking about Jung-jae, who plays a character by the name of Soul, his performance has been phenomenal so far. He's an actor. There's so many actors that's been within the Star Wars universe, and there's just certain actors that just fit in this world, and he's one of them 100% for me. He plays a Jedi Master that has compassion, but also clearly has his secrets that he's keeping close to his vest, and he plays both of those things so well. It's so believable, and again, going back to Amandla and him, their chemistry is great, their backstory is very interesting, and both, like I said, both those characters and those actors are the standouts for me, at least in the first 4 episodes. Now, switching gears and talk a little bit about the action. Now, we'll kind of get you guys in the right mindset, because I don't know how you all have been interpreting the marketing for the show, but to me, they've leaned heavily into like the fight choreographed scenes, and it's going to be like action heavy. It's not that there's no action in the show, it's just not as much as I think that they have been marketing the show as. Now, I will say, if you've seen the trailers, you've seen most of the action beats, at least in the first 4 episodes, and mostly in the first 2 episodes, you see a lot of action beats. And again, not speaking negative about the action, but speaking to the positive, when there is action in the show, which, by the way, I'm okay with the Star Wars not having all shoot 'em up, bang, bang. Like, I love The Mandalorian for what it is, but I also love an Andor series that sits down, that talks about the characters, that gets into the character's mind. So this show is kind of doing a blend of both worlds, where again, it's mostly Most of the action is in episode 1 and 2, and then episodes 3 and 4 kind of really dive deeper into the complexities of these characters. So going back to the positives of the action, when it is on screen, it's handled pretty well. Now, again, if you've seen the trailers, you've seen some of the fights, and it's not, to me, it's not like The Raid or anything, but they're choreographed really well, they're paced really well, and they fit within the context of what the show's given us. So as far as the action that is in the show, I give it 2 thumbs up. Now, getting into some of my criticisms that I have with the show, I will say that the exploration that they're exploring about the Jedis and how they police the situations on the behalf of the Republic, to me, it feels very surface level and kind of basic. Again, this is only the first 4 episodes, but I feel like they're hinting at themes of the Jedi, but they're not really exploring it, not really going into depth. They're hinting at different conversations. Jedis can't, have remorseful thoughts or thinking about the past, and they have to move on, and this, that, and the other. And it's just like they talk about it, but they're not really going into depth. And let's talk about that a little bit further. Why does a Jedi think this way? How do other people feel about the Jedi? And again, the show just kind of feels very surface level. Again, this is only the first 4 episodes, but so far, it isn't as complex as I was hoping it to be. Now, speaking about the lengths of these episodes, I know you all probably want to know. Now, I will say for the first 4 episodes, the episodes range 32 minutes being the shortest episode and 42 minutes being the longest, and I felt that some of the storylines suffered from that length because individual episodes sometimes felt rushed at times, but also that applies to some of the character interactions and feeling like some of the more insightful moments happen so fast and they don't feel as impactful as they could have because we're speeding through things, we're rushing to the end. So I would definitely say there were some pacing issues that I had within those shorter window episodes that we get. And not that you can't tell a great story within 30 minutes, because there is plenty of examples of shows like more recently, The Bear does a great job at that. One of my favorite shows of all time, and Atlanta does that. And there's been other Star Wars projects that tell a tight individual story and theme and character arcs within 30 minutes. But this one, again, things just kind of feel rushed, and there's some pacing issues that I have, especially within the first couple episodes. Now, I also want to say that I was hoping that this show was going to dive a little bit more darker into the idea of what was pitched years ago, but to me, it seems pretty tamed. I also was under the impression that we were going to see more Jedis and training and sabers, but we really haven't gotten a ton of that. Like, there is literally, I can count on my hand the times you see a lightsaber in this show within the first 4 episodes. You see it twice in episode 1, and I think once in episode 2, and there's no sabers in 3, and like, I don't want to get into 4, and I'll talk about it later, but I was just under the impression that we were going to get more of the Jedi in action, and it really isn't that much. I'm kind of disappointed in that element of the show so far. So again, general impressions, I like what I liked in the show. Again, the production, the performances, some of the ideas that have been pitched around, but I do wish the show can go a little bit deeper, can explore more of the ideas of a Jedi, as they're kind of framing the Jedi as not the good guys in certain situations, and there's definitely secrets they're holding within these first 4 episodes. So I would say I'm very intrigued by this show. I don't love this show, but I definitely think it is a step up from, I would say, it's better than the first 4 episodes of the Boba Fett series. I like it more than I like the first 4 episodes of Obi-Wan Kenobi. It hasn't, and I liked it more than some of the stuff in the latest season of The Mandalorian, but it's not Andor, it's not Mandalorian season 1 and 2, but it is better than some of those other shows that I mentioned. And so far, especially when you get to episode 4, it ends in a manner where you're just like, come on, why you gotta tease us like that? So I'm intrigued. I will be watching this week to week, and I would say, generally speaking, I liked what I saw. Didn't love it, didn't hate it by any means, but it's a pretty solid series for me. So kind of getting in and getting to the second half of this particular breakdown and talking about what I have in my phone here on my notes as far as just my brief thoughts on the individual episodes. Starting off with episode 1, which I have in my notes here, saying it was a solid episode. There were some pacing issues, and my biggest issue with episode 1 is the opening, and I won't say why. You'll obviously see when you see episode 1, but something happens pretty early on. I'm like, that is just a crock of you-know-what. I was hoping that we were going to get more time with a certain element of a certain character, and it's just like, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. Now, I will say, again, keeping it very vague, there is more to explore. And again, you'd be like, what the hell is this you talking about? When you see episode 1, you know I'm talking about. First 15 minutes, I was very bummed out. But then later in episode 4 or 3, you get more. I'll just leave it at that. But as far as the episode, besides the opening, I thought it was a really good setup as we kind of understand the May and the Osha character and see what's going on with the murder mystery and kind of get an idea where the show is headed. I thought it was a really solid, not a fantastic opener. It didn't have that hook, but it was a really good way to kick off things. Now, I will say I preferred episode 2 over episode 1. Episode 2 was a little bit longer in length, but also I like the mission that we're going on because, again, once we set up things in episode 1, again, not giving too much away, but you know who May is at this point, you know who Osha is, and we're looking for the May character and how we go about finding out certain things and seeing a certain restraint and certain happiness and not knowing that certain characters were alive at certain points. So I like what episode sets up. We get a little bit more action in episode 2, and I like what we got to see in the action moments. And I like that this episode does kind of, again, I want this show to explore it more, but there is the Jedis are flawed. Jedis aren't always good, at least in the eyes of certain people, and they don't always make the best decisions, especially this like lead Jedi person that we're following that Soul respects and talks to. So they do explore that, and that's the thing that I really enjoy more in episode 2 than we got in episode 1. So I'll leave it at that, and I'll end this video with a preview. Now, I don't want to give too much into it, but I would say out of the 4 episodes I saw, my favorite was episode 3. I will say episode 3 has a backstory. There's a flashback. There are witches. There's an idea of a creation being made, and there's some lies going on. And I'll just say that about episode 3. So I will say out of the 4, episode 3 is my favorite. And episode 4 is really interesting. We get to see a character that I was excited to see. I'll just say Wookiee. And even though they don't do too much, which is disappointing, but it was just kind of, you know, the idea of finding this Wookiee and how we go about doing that and the teams we have kind of separated to find a certain Wookiee. And I'll end by saying episode 4 is a big tease as far as how it ends. You're just like, oh, can we go a little bit further? Can we get like 5 or 10 more minutes in that scene? So episode 4 was solid. I would say 3 and 4 were, to me, better than 1 and 2. And out of the first 2 that you guys will be seeing if you're watching this video on the first week that it premiered, I liked episode 2 more than 1, and 3 is my favorite. So again, I'm intrigued by this show. I wanted to dive deeper. I want to care more about some of the, you know, besides Soul and May and Osha, I want to care more about, you know, the Jacks of the world, the Lords of the world. I want more of Pip. I want more of the Handler and exploring more of what happened in episode 3. So all in all, I'm satisfied from what I saw, and I'm excited to see where this show goes. So that's my thoughts on the first 4 episodes, my general impressions of the episodes, and I'm excited to see where this goes. But more importantly, I want to see what you all have to say. If you're watching this on the first premiere week, let me know your thoughts on episode 1 and 2. If you're watching this weeks, months, years later, let me know your thoughts about episodes 3 and 4, and let's have a conversation. This is years later. What do you think about the series? I can't speak to it now because I'm not in the future, but let's talk about it all in the comments below. Thank you all for watching today's video. Again, leave your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up, share your thoughts, share the video, and stick around and subscribe to the channel. You all are awesome. Stay safe, and I'll catch you all on the next breakdown.